Investor pitches are an art form. If you don't understand your deal, have a lot of conviction and confidence, and have a good mindset and PR, your deals are not going to get funded. You don't just get lucky with investor pitches. You have to know what you're talking about to get your deals funded. In the first 3 years of my company, I went from no track record and not knowing anything about raising institutional capital and pitching my projects to raising tens of millions of dollars from large institutional groups that put your deals under a lot of scrutiny. And I've done several $100 million in real estate projects and gotten many deals successfully funded. So when I first got started, I didn't have any money, I didn't have a track record, and I really didn't understand how real estate deals got funded at all. I didn't know who the investors were or what the general structure was. And you don't have to know everything, especially when you're first getting started, but you can do a ton of research online. The way I kind of figured it out was one, like just going online and searching and reading articles about, how larger commercial real estate projects were funded. Now, obviously you have AI. I'm sure you can just have an entire conversation with a robot about whatever field you're in and how, where the investors come from. But really getting that landscape and just doing the research on, where investors come from in your space. I found that investors wanted a certain type of return, or, the first thing I did was I found a really good project in Nashville that I wanted to get funded. Then I made a list of a bunch of investors from online, different real estate professional organizations, and I basically just kept a list that I cold called down and pitched a bunch of different people on my investment. And that's how I first got started. I went on Upwork. These are all scrappy things that I did, but it was just things that I learned. I didn't know any better at the time. I went on Upwork and I hired an analyst to underwrite my project and do a proper pro forma that I didn't know how to do. I also hired an investment banker that I found on Upwork and had him coach me on what he does to get deals funded, how he kept track of all of his contacts, how often he reached out to them, the type of research he did. I found all of these people on Upwork and I just got them to give me help and kind of help me understand the landscape when I was very, very first getting started. And so it was a very scrappy approach, but that was kind of how I laid the groundwork for understanding commercial real estate and how it gets done. Now, whatever asset class you're in, if you're in venture or whatever else, whatever type of deal you're trying to get pitched, or you're trying to pitch, you need to understand the landscape. And that was kind of how I first started figuring it out. But if I had to go back, I'm sure there were things I would have done a little bit differently, and things that I'll lay out for you here that can help get your deal funded. To get a deal funded, you must first establish your track record, meaning what have you done? Now, it's a little bit ironic because when you're first starting out, you don't have a track record. The way that people get around this is by partnering with people that do have a track record, which means you'll have to split your profits or you'll have to do a project with someone else, or by working in a company where you have done the same type of projects under that company before going out on your own. So unfortunately, it's very rare to get your deals funded without any sort of experience in what you're doing, which makes a lot of sense. So you either need to partner with someone that's done it, or you need to have done it while working for a larger company and going out on your own. But your track record should be very clearly established. People do this in Excel by saying, hey, I've done this type of project. This is when I bought it. This is when I sold it. This is what I made. This is, exactly what we did. I also provide visuals in my track record. It helps people see the type of product that I've done, how long it took me, how much money I invested, how much money I made, and the general stats of what you did. So you need to have a track record established as a first basis point for getting anything funded. The second thing is you need to establish yourself as an opinion leader in the space or industry you're in. So it's always helpful to have good PR or personal relations in whatever field you're in. That means, your local newspaper covering projects you've done, having a online presence on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is, and establishing yourself as someone that has credibility and knows what they're talking about. As people have gotten more and more successful, people publish books and give speeches and are on panels. And this is just sort of a natural evolution of becoming successful in your space and really owning your area, is spending time and investing in that personal relations aspect of the work. I personally don't like that part of my job. I'm very shy. It doesn't come naturally to me to talk about our projects and to talk about all of these things, but I've definitely attracted investors and have gotten a lot of credibility because we're putting our good works out there. We're, marketing our products very well and professionally branded. I speak on panels, I network, and I've look at any investor I've ever met or any key business relationship that I've met that hasn't been personal has come from putting myself out there, having someone reach out cold because they saw me in an article or they listened to me on a podcast. And it's really important to make sure, whether you like it or not, that you're putting your work out there and getting on the communication channels of your industry: podcasts, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, networking panels, professional groups, local meetups, those type of things, depending on where you're starting. As you get more established, you can hire help. I have a great social media manager. I've had many people help me on the PR front of things. You can hire PR companies, things like that. But it's really important that you either do the research if you can't afford to do that, or you hire a professional to really help you, because it is an aspect of the job that I think a lot of people don't do, and it really is one of the things that can push you to the next level more quickly. I've talked a lot about this in the past, but really making sure you've done your research on your own deal and you know it inside and out is so important, because that's going to give you the confidence, and your investors, if they're have a lot of money and can write a quick check, will be smart enough to dive into all of the metrics of a deal. In real estate, it has a lot to do with local comparables, what the market's doing, absorption, different aspects and statistics that have to do with your market. You have to do your research not only on your own project and make sure you're fully, able to handle and stress test your deal, make sure that it's a very, very good project. That goes first and foremost. But being able to talk about it competently with an investor is super important. So doing your research ahead of time. Along with that is making sure you're doing your research on who you're pitching to. People don't like their time wasted, and people that have a lot of money or that are deploying capital are getting contacted by a million different people, and they're getting a bunch of pitch decks sent to them. What's really important is that, one, you're getting in front of that person. Face-to-face is always the best. It can take doing a roadshow. You might have to go to New York or go to their office and actually go see that person, not just on a Zoom call. But to separate yourself, you really have to do your research and get in front of that person and not waste their time. That means, making sure that they're investing in what you're pitching. Don't go to a venture investor and pitch them on a real estate deal. Look at what they've invested in and make sure that you're weeding down to the people that are actually would be truly interested in your product. I hate when someone calls me and wastes my time. I don't even return their email if they're pitching me something that's clearly they didn't go on my website and see that I would be interested in. So doing your research ahead of time on your investor and making sure you're getting in front of them and being succinct and not wasting their time is really important to get your deal funded. I think another reason I've been successful in getting capital is that I'm willing to walk away from an investor and I'm not super needy. People tend to get desperate. That comes across very clearly when you're pitching to an investor. I know if I have a good project that I'm offering something that someone else doesn't have. I'm a very trustworthy person. I have a lot of track record, and I've made my investors a lot of money. That is really unique. If someone has money and they want to make more of it, they want to give it to someone like me. And I know that. And so I have that confidence, and that comes across in my pitches. I'm willing to walk away from, I'm not going to take money from someone that's a total, I'm willing to walk away from someone if they're not interested or, you know, going to push the terms so badly. I just go, okay, no, this isn't working. Like, I don't want to take money from this person. I have enough to where I don't not put myself in this position of being needy or desperate. That's really important. You have to have enough people you're pitching to where you're not fixated on one person pitching your deal, because it'll come across in the pitch, and they'll know that you're desperate. So you can't be desperate or needy. You have to have the confidence to be able to walk away from an investor and not be fixated on one. One of the biggest mistakes I see with people is that they don't have enough people that they're pitching to. They give up after like pitching to 10 people. It takes hundreds, maybe 1,000 sometimes if it's, a tough market, and really doing the work. So along with that, patience is definitely part of it. I've gotten people that call me and say, I need to get a deal funded in 2 weeks. And it's just like, that's ridiculous. Like, you just all your credibility gets thrown out. So you do have to be patient and allow yourself enough time to get a deal funded, because if people see desperation, they're either going to take total advantage of you or they're going to run. I think the last important point about getting your deal funded is making sure that you have enough confidence and conviction in your project. Obviously, I've talked more about what makes a good project, and we're assuming that you have a very financeable, good deal there. If you have a lot of conviction around that, that really comes across in how you communicate. It's almost like having a bit of swag or something, and you have to have that confidence that it's an amazing deal and that there's an investor out there to fund it. Because if you don't have that sort of like borderline delusional confidence that your deal is going to get funded, you'll just end up striking out and giving up. And it really does come across that, you can't come across like super desperate with someone. You need to be able to exude an amount of confidence that you have this great deal and that it's going to get funded. There is the right investor out there for that deal, and you can't get discouraged because, you hear 10 no's in a row. I've heard hundreds of no's in a row, gotten one person to say yes, and made millions of dollars on that project. So it just takes a lot of confidence and conviction, and really keeping that sort of personality when you're doing your pitches, because it comes across if you don't. That's how I pitch deals and get deals funded. If you want to find more about how I got my first project funded, watch this next video.